On November 23, 1943, a B-17 crew embarked on a critical bombing mission over Germany. After being strafed several times, and both the pilot and co-pilot being critically wounded, a navigator with no flying experience whatsoever takes control, not only to help complete the mission, but also to bring the plane back home. This is the story of Lieutenant Harold Strassler and the crew of the B-17 Romance. Hi guys, and welcome back to Moments in Time. Today, we're embarking on the daring adventure of Lieutenant Harold Strassler, whose heroic deeds in World War II still echo through the halls of history. Strassler, a young navigator on the B-17 flying fortress named Romance, transformed from an unsung hero into a legendary figure during one of the most intense bombing missions over Germany in November of 1943. Born and raised in a small town, Harold Strassler's upbringing was quintessentially American, growing up with the values of determination, bravery, and loyalty. He joined the military at the onset of World War II, eager to serve his country. In 1942, Strassler enlisted in the United States Army Air Forces. After rigorous training, he was assigned to the 8th Air Force, 94th Bomb Group. His leadership and quick decision-making skills soon earned him the position of navigator on the B-17 flying fortress, nicknamed Romance. Now, the B-17 itself is an iconic bomber, and it was instrumental in the Allied strategic bombing campaign against the Axis powers. Romance, with its sturdy build and formidable firepower, became Strassler's second home. Now, that day in 1943, the sky was clouded with enemy aircraft as the Romance pushed forward into the heart of enemy territory. Strassler meticulously charted their course, navigating through dangerous skies filled with anti-aircraft fire and enemy fighters. As they neared their target, German fighters attacked the Romance, severely damaging the aircraft. The pilot and co-pilot were gravely wounded, leaving the plane without its primary controllers. Strassler, despite having no prior flying experience, faced the daunting challenge of taking control of the aircraft. Now, the pilot, Captain Charles Yall, was removed from his seat by Lieutenant Strassler, the plane's navigator who began tending to the unconscious and badly wounded man. Meanwhile, the co-pilot, First Lieutenant Martin Downey, still managed to guide the plane towards its target. With the command, "The plane is yours," Romance's bombardier, First Lieutenant George Pappy Hines, now had control of the aircraft and would soon release the bombs on target. For Pappy, this mission would complete his tour, with the distinction as the first member of the 381st Bombardment Group to finish up and return home. With remarkable composure, Strassler alternated between piloting the crippled B-17 and administering first aid to the wounded crew members. His evasive maneuvers and quick thinking kept the enemy at bay, while his determination kept the crew's spirits alive. Strassler's efforts allowed Romance to continue its mission, dropping its payload on the target before turning back towards friendly territory. The return journey was fraught with challenges as the Romance limped through the skies, engines sputtering and control surfaces damaged. All the while, German fighters continued their relentless assault. Strassler's evasive maneuvers were so extreme, he feared his actions might leave the rest of the squadron vulnerable. After consulting with Downey during one of his brief moments of consciousness, the two agreed that the Romance had to leave the formation to avoid endangering the entire squadron. So Strassler descended and signaled to the rest of the formation that they were breaking away. However, the squadron refused to leave the Romance behind. The tail gunner soon reported the rest of the squadron was still in formation with them. Assuming his signal hadn't been understood, Strassler then climbed back to altitude, flew level, and repeated the signal once again. However, the squadron would not leave the Romance to fend on its own as a vulnerable straggler. Strassler, exhausted but resolute, guided the B-17 back to their base in England, where they made a miraculous landing. Now, Strassler's heroic actions earned him the Distinguished Flying Cross, one of the highest honors awarded to aircrew. His story became a symbol of courage and resilience, inspiring future generations of airmen. Lieutenant Strassler managed to bring Romance and her crew safely back to base. But when Stroessler later confronted the pilot of the No. 2 bomber, Lieutenant Daniel Haggerty, about why the squadron hadn't continued without them, Haggerty simply replied, it was his last mission. He had to get back. If he didn't, none of us would. Thanks to the bravery and teamwork of the men aboard the Romance and the entire squadron, Lieutenant George Pappy Hines completed his tour and returned home. For his extraordinary actions that day, Lieutenant Harold Stroessler was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. He was later promoted to captain, and he survived the war. He passed away on April 4th, 2004, at the age of 83. Lieutenant Stroessler and the Romance's tale is a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who served in World War II. His bravery, quick thinking, under pressure, not only saved his crew, but contributed to the Allied victory. The story of Romance and its navigator remains a vivid reminder of the sacrifices made by the greatest generation. Their legacy, much like the B-17 Flying Fortress itself, is forged in steel and valor. But that's it for today's Moments in Time, guys. We thank you so much for returning to the channel and all the support you guys give us. But if you like tales like these, maybe hit the like button and help us on our road to 1,000 subs by hitting the sub button. It helps us out tremendously. But guys, thank you once again. You all are amazing, and until next time.